A for an apple pie. What is an A for?
A for an apple pie.
Coming from an orthodox family dominated by the magnetic presence of his grandma, R.K. Narayanan's days at the Lutheran Mission School were a torment. Little Narayanan was hesitant to embrace the strangeness of English education, fueled by Christian doctrines. Attending the school did not make him like it any better, and often he plunged into the depths of loneliness. R.K. Narayanan's grandmother used to spend hours in the garden watering plants. A rare and kind soul, his grandmother Amani used to clarify all the little doubts Narayanan had while they worked together in the garden.
ஆப்பிள்னா என்ன?
என்னமோ நம்ம இட்லி மாதிரி இருக்கும்.
Rasipuram Krishnaswamy Iyer Narayanaswamy was born on October 10, 1906, as the third among the 8 children of P.V. Narayanaswamy and Jnanambal. When Narayanan's mother became pregnant again, the 2-year-old Narayanan was sent to Madras to live with his maternal grandmother, Parvati, who was called Amani. He lived with her and one of uncles, T.N. Sheshachalam.
Porshagam is a sort of a, even the road, streets and bylanes were all an extension of our house.
Away from the parents and brothers, and having no room to find out friends of his age, Narayanan remained a lonely child. It was the sights of Parashivakam streets that opened his window to the world, and sitting on the doorstep of his house, he could see peddlers, vendors, horse carts, and even garbage wagons. He would even wander about the side streets rolling an imaginary iron hoop.
You are acceptable as a grandmother. How grandmother used to react to my brother. Of course, I was not born even at that time, but of course I have seen my grandmother and also Narayan with her. He was brought up there. He is more is sort of a pet of my grandmother's, and she used to spoil him a lot by granting anything he wished.
Every vacation, grandmother had to take young Narayanan to his father and mother at Chennapatna in the princely state of Mysore, where his father was a school teacher. And each travel brought new exciting experiences for Narayanan. New landscapes, new faces, new languages, new voices.
At the same time, she was also very strict, and she is also very much interested in music, and is very strict about certain things, particularly some of the old sayings, and then the Tamil poems, and all that. She was an expert.
பள்ளிக்கூடத்துல ஒண்ணுமே சொல்லி தரல. டேபிள் சொல்லு கேக்குறேன்.
1
But Amani was not quite happy with her grandson's teachers, and she always checked with Narayanan the daily lessons he studied in the school. Invariably, this meant tackling arithmetic problems, repeating multiplication tables, and reciting Sanskrit slokas and Tamil hymns every evening.
12. 4 into 4 is equal to 60. 5 into 4 is equal to 20. 6 into 4 is equal to 6 into 4 is equal to
या कुन्देन्दुतुषारहारधवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युतशङ्करप्रभृतिभिर्देवैः सदा पूजिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाढ्यापहा.
After Lutheran Mission and CRC schools, Narayanan secured admission at the Christian College High School, Esplanade. Young Narayanan really enjoyed studying in this school. But his tryst with the Christian college ended quite abruptly. Narayanan's father had no good impression of his son's earlier schools of Madras, and he succeeded in bringing his son to the Maharaja's Collegiate High School at Mysore. Thus ended one phase of his life as a man of Madras. Now he became a Mysorean. A new fascination was awaiting Narayanan at Mysore. There were books, contemporary literary magazines, and periodicals. Being the headmaster's son, he enjoyed access to the library and privilege to handpick volumes. Contemporary English magazines from London made him conversant with literary trends. The great figures of English literature could be seen strutting before him in Mysore. The stage was set for the genesis of a great writer. He started writing about everyday events and would often read out his writings to his close friends. This he could always do as he used to carry his compositions in his pocket. These reading sessions were mostly over a cup of tea offered by Narayanan when he could afford it. For this reason, their comments were always generous enough to term his works as masterpieces. He had learned from a book named How to Sell Your Manuscript that pieces should be copied on a dummy-size bond paper typed on one side with a generous margin and double space. He completed his BA in English after at least a couple of unsuccessful attempts. His father insisted him to join MA course, and he nearly did, but for a friend who advised him not to, as it would spoil the writer in him, he turned back to pursue the vocation he was destined for. His father's retirement had demoted the family to the lower middle class status. It was elder brother who worked to keep the family afloat. In order to stabilize his income, he became a newspaper reporter. He went out news hunting through the bazaar, law courts, police stations, and municipal building. In this wandering, any girl who lifted her eyes and seemed to notice him became at once his sweetheart. After many false starts, the real thing occurred. He saw a girl fetching water from a street tap. Love at first sight it was. Rajam was her name. She was the daughter of the local school headmaster. One evening, Narayanan bluntly asked her father for his daughter's hand in marriage.
He wanted to marry her, but your father was against it. He used to scrutinize the horoscope very keenly and be too orthodox. He said this doesn't, the orthodox, But Narayan was so persistent, he couldn't do anything about it. My father was not very orthodox. He said, if you want to marry that girl, just go ahead. I don't have any objection to it. But her father is a deciding factor is a father. So don't offend her or anything, offend the family by. He said, anyway, that drifted into it again. Then there was a lot of compromise with horoscope. He said, it's all right, this can be done, that can be done. The favorable version and result was obtained by another horoscope for a person who matched it. All right, go ahead.
The new entrant in the family, Rajam managed his 3 younger brothers and the kitchen. Yet with all the group life, there was enough privacy for them. She was calm, soft, gentle, and would not utter a harsh word. She liked looking after people. Before sending him out, Rajam would give him a cup of tea and sometimes whisper, "Don't make a fuss, but there is not enough coffee powder at home. Get some from the store when you return."
நான் வெளியில் போயிட்டு வரேன்.
காப்பி பொடி தீந்துருச்சு, வாங்கிட்டு வரீங்களா?
சரி.
Swami and friends came in the middle of this stressful time, and the novel registers all the confusions and the dislocations of a child. The manuscript travelled back and forth a dozen times between India and England, always accompanied with a rejection note. So Narayanan included a preemptive note asking the publisher Dent to forward the manuscript to his friend Kittu Purna studying at Oxford, and he asked Purna to throw the manuscript in the Thames. Purna, who used to hop over the wall to listen to Narayanan's stories, went to knock on the door of a writer, Graham Greene. And then the miracle happened. Greene, impressed by the manuscript, found Narayanan a publisher. Narayanan could see himself in a new role. that of a novelist.
But unfortunately, his father's prediction came correct. She couldn't survive after 2 years.
Soon after, Rajam caught typhoid and became bedridden.
சீக்கிரமாக சரியாயிடும்.
He treated his wife as if she is still alive. That's how he was able to contact her spiritually.
The death of his wife Rajam in 1939. It sent him into a period of darkness lasting some years, where the remarkable thing is, it's not that he didn't write. During this period also he wrote for the Hindu. He wrote his pieces, but a novel took some time coming, and the English teacher is the final the outcome of that, the end of the period of darkness, remarkably creative work. That was the first. He then went into a psychic period. He kept a journal, which is remarkable. Parallel between that and the English teacher is remarkable. And then he went to a medium, automatic writing and all that, but he overcame it and hardly ever referred to it again. He said he had come to terms with this loss.
Narayanan wouldn't write a line. Nothing stimulated him. No curiosity, no interest in people or his surroundings. His wife's demise also opened certain psychic explorations for Narayanan, who was reportedly able to communicate with the departed soul.
எழுதுங்கோ.
Do you resemble Mr. R.K. Narayan?
Of course, 10% resemblance difficult to get because of that's the period. Even the youngsters look different about 70 years ago, 80 years ago. That is acceptable. You cannot just produce 10% appearance. Only thing is you are little tall. Otherwise, the features are all okay.
R.K. Narayan himself was a wonderful subject for photography. His face had a sense of sarcastic curiosity looking at people and all. His eyes reflected curiosity, and his face reflected joy also. He was very fond of laughing, very fond of smiling, with a big guffaw, and he had a very sharp nose and curly hair, which are epitomized in some of the early photographs people have taken of him. As a photographer, right from the beginning, I found that he was camera shy. He never allowed me to take too many pictures of himself. He said, that's enough, that's enough, that's enough. Nor was I interested in his photograph. I didn't know that he would one day become a great man and I should document his life from the... I wish I had done that. But the pictures that I did on my own were very few, showing him with members of his family, playing with his grandchildren, playing cricket, for example, in the backyard with his nephews and niece. Probably I am the only person who has photographed him writing. I photographed him in a small room in Lakshmipuram when he was writing a novel. My passion in photography is to record the lives of the common people who hit no headlines but who matter. People like you and me, simple people who inhabit our country. He could be a student, he could be a teacher, he could be a housewife, he could be a laborer, he could be a literator, he could be a lawyer, he could be a clerk, he could be a vendor of sweets, a vendor of fruits and vegetables, anybody for that matter interested. And there was a similar sentiment R.K. Narayan also shared, because he was also interested in the life around him.
He's got a very high sense of humor. And Narayan used to see the ridiculous aspect of anything, whether it's serious or even light. His angle is different. He never used to take life very seriously, never did it. In fact, he is sort of a ubiquitous observer of life of everybody.
Everything was a story, yes, or that, as you said, life of common people, ordinary incidents. Naipaul has commented on it, what it is all about, how he always kept within an area he knew, he defined it. That's a very difficult art, literary art. You can write about the whole world and great things, but to write about specific, in a narrow, in a limited space, and yet to address larger issues without philosophizing openly is really the greatest literary art. But anything on the streets, anything on the road, anything amidst ordinary life would give him story ideas, and he could link up with it as a creative writer.
Narayanan weaved a world existing nowhere. His books appeal in a quiet, reassuring way. Malgudi, the colonial district town with its post office, bank, middle-class suburb, small roadside shops, low-caste slums, missionary school, government bungalows, the railway station, Ishwar temple, Jagan's sweet meat shop, Kabir circle, Taluk house, police station, all striking a chord of perfect reality with readers across the world. The stories, while recreating Madras of Narayanan's childhood and the Mysore of his later years, transport the reader to this make-believe world, be it of the British Raj or post-independent India. He wrote about people in small town in South India. Small people, big talk, small doings. That was where he began. That was where he was 50 years later. Narayanan was given Sahitya Akademi Award in 1958 for his novel The Guide. In 1964, he received Padma Bhushan for his distinguished service to literature. In 1980, he was given the A.C. Benson Award by the Royal Society of Literature. The Mysore University conferred on him the honorary doctorate. He was also nominated as member of Rajya Sabha.
Narayan developed some heart problem in Mysore, and the Dr. T.J. Cherian was here. He asked him to come over to Madras and be in constant touch with him. We shifted over here.
R.K. Narayanan passed away on May 13, 2001. Malgudi lives on, and so does his writings.
The last days, we kept a close watch on him, and when I was away, I think there was some bleeding and he was sent in, and just shortly before he was to go on a ventilator because the doctors had diagnosed a problem. Suddenly he said, I want to write about this. His grandfather, who he said had made money, had acquired wealth beyond his legitimate income. He was a petty official, so how did he acquire all this and so on, and he wanted to write about it, and he was in the habit, he loved beautifully bound notebooks. It was a pleasure for him to get it, and then he'd start writing. If he didn't get that, he would use old diaries. So he asked me to get diaries and said, please don't waste a new diary. We used to get lots of diaries. Which year? Get me an old diary of former years. And I want to write. And then he told my wife, Mariam, that the story is forming in my mind. And started narrating it. And in fact, I had to move away because the doctor said he shouldn't exert himself. So he kept asking, where is he? And that was the last time he was able to speak, although he survived for some more days. This was really remarkable. He wanted to write a novel on his grandfather, just as he had written on the grandmother's tale.